What if the person saving lives at the hospital? Wasn't a doctor, but a stray dog? This isn't just a hypothetical question. It's a true story that unfolded right outside the emergency room doors of a busy public hospital. Let's call this dog the guardian of the gate. Every single night, like clockwork, a stray dog would appear at the emergency entrance. He wasn't like the other strays. He didn't bark at passing cars. He didn't chase after people for scraps. And he didn't make a fuss. He would simply find a spot near the gate and wait. Just wait. At first, the security guards saw him as a nuisance. They'd shoo him away, clap their hands, and tell him to get lost. But their efforts were futile. The dog was persistent. He always came back, usually around the time the sun began to set and the dinner hour approached. His quiet determination started to intrigue the people who saw him every day. What was he waiting for? Who was he waiting for? One evening, a nurse named Maria was finishing her long shift. As she walked out, exhausted, she noticed something peculiar. A family was huddled together on a bench, crying softly. Their faces were etched with worry for a loved one inside. Just as she was about to offer a word of comfort, she saw the dog. He slowly trotted over to the grieving family, didn't make a sound, and simply lay down at their feet. He wasn't asking for anything. He was just offering his silent, comforting presence. It was a small gesture, but in a place filled with so much anxiety and pain, it was everything. Maria started watching him. Night after night, she saw the same pattern repeat. Whenever a family sat outside, their hearts heavy with fear and uncertainty, the dog would approach. He seemed to have a sixth sense, an uncanny ability to know who needed him the most. He'd sit with them, a quiet companion in their darkest hour, a furry shoulder to lean on without them even knowing they needed one. He became a silent source of solace, a beacon of unconditional empathy in the sterile, often impersonal environment of a hospital. The staff began to talk about him, wondering about his story. Where did he come from? Why did he choose this specific spot? The answer to that question would come one particularly harrowing night. A young woman sat all alone on the cold curb, her body shaking with silent sobs. Her father had just been rushed into surgery after a sudden heart attack. The doctor's words were grim, and the weight of the world felt like it was crushing her. She'd been there for hours, hadn't eaten, hadn't moved. The world outside the hospital doors had faded into a blur of headlights and distant sirens. Suddenly, she felt a gentle nudge at her hand. She looked down and saw the stray dog. He looked into her eyes, then turned and trotted away into the darkness. She thought he was gone, just another fleeting moment in her nightmare. But a few minutes later, he returned. In his mouth, he carried a small, unopened pack of bread, the kind you get with a takeaway meal, likely discarded by someone earlier. He gently dropped it right in front of her. The young woman stared at the bread, then at the dog, in utter disbelief. A stray dog, who probably hadn't eaten a decent meal himself, was offering her his food. It was such a small, simple act, yet it broke through her wall of despair. It was a lifeline. In that moment, she realized she wasn't completely alone. This small act of kindness from an animal gave her a jolt of strength she desperately needed. She picked up the bread, wiped her tears, and with newfound resolve, stood up. She went to the restroom, washed her face, and walked back into the hospital, ready to face whatever came next, ready to be by her father's side. A security guard, a gruff man named Carlos, who had initially tried to chase the dog away, saw the whole thing. His heart melted. From that night on, Carlos made sure the dog had a bowl of food and fresh water waiting for him every evening. He wasn't just a stray anymore. He was part of the hospital's unofficial night shift team. Word of the dog's compassion spread like wildfire through the hospital staff. Nurses, doctors, and administrative workers started contributing. They began leaving small, sealed meals near the gate. But these weren't just for the dog. They were for the families who, like the young woman, were too distraught or financially strained to think about food. The dog's simple act of kindness had inspired a wave of human kindness. The area by the gate, once just a cold entryway, transformed into a small station of hope and nourishment. The dog never once set foot inside the hospital. He seemed to understand that his place was outside, in the space between the chaos of the world and the sanitized corridors of healing. He remained the guardian of the gate. Every night, he would take his post, a silent sentinel watching over the broken-hearted. He couldn't mend broken bones or cure diseases, but he mended spirits in a way no medicine could. He taught an entire community that sometimes the most profound healing doesn't come from a scalpel or a prescription, but from a quiet presence, a shared moment of stillness, and an unexpected act of love. He was a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming pain, a little bit of compassion can make all the difference. This incredible story makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other silent heroes like him are out there, quietly making the world a better place? It is a powerful lesson in empathy and the surprising ways comfort can find us when we need it most. Thank you for watching and sharing this moment with us. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more content that warms the heart. We'll see you in the next one. Under an old forgotten bridge, where the city's hum fades into a gentle murmur, lived a small community of souls who had little more than each other. Their beds were made of cardboard, their blankets were thin, but their stories, shared in the quiet of the night, were rich with life. They were a family, bound not by blood, but by shared hardship and the simple will to survive another day. And every single night, just as the last rays of sunlight disappeared behind the towering buildings, a special visitor would arrive. A stray dog, a scruffy little hero with fur the color of dust and eyes that held a knowing warmth, would brave the treacherous, busy road above. He would carefully make his way down the dark, winding path to the little encampment under the bridge, and he never came empty-pawed. He always carried something in his mouth. It was his nightly offering, a treasure he had foraged from the world above. Some nights, it was a piece of bread, perhaps dropped by a passer. Other nights, it was a small bag of leftovers, still warm from a restaurant's kitchen. And on lean days, it was just a bone, but a bone he carried with the same sense of purpose. Among the people living under the bridge was an old man named Lolo Ben. Time had been hard on him, and his legs had grown too weak to carry him far. While others could still venture out to beg for food or find small jobs, Lolo Ben was confined to his small space, relying on the kindness of his neighbors. But the dog, he had a special mission. He would bypass everyone else, his tail giving a soft, gentle wag, and go straight to Lolo Ben. With a tender nudge, he would place his nightly treasure right beside the old man, and then, his duty done, he would curl up at Lolo Ben's feet, a silent, loyal guardian watching over him through the cold night. He wasn't just bringing food, he was bringing companionship, a flicker of hope in the darkness. The others watched this ritual every evening with a sense of quiet wonder. This little dog, who had nothing, gave everything he could find to someone who had even less. He was a silent teacher of compassion and loyalty. Then came a night when the sky broke open. A fierce storm raged, and rain fell in relentless sheets. The river, which usually flowed peacefully beneath the bridge, began to swell and churn. It was angry, and it was rising. Inch by inch, the dark, cold water crept closer and closer to where the small community slept, completely unaware of the looming danger. The sound of the storm masked the approaching threat, but one soul was awake. One guardian was on watch. Suddenly, a series of frantic barks pierced the roar of the storm. It was the dog, but this wasn't his usual happy bark or a bark of fear. It was a warning, a desperate, urgent alarm. He ran back and forth along the edge of the rising water, his barks growing more insistent with every second. He raced over to Lolo Ben, who was deep in sleep, and began pulling at his thin, torn blanket. He tugged and nipped and wind, doing everything in his power to wake the old man. His commotion finally roused the others. Groggy and confused, they sat up, and their eyes widened in horror. They saw the river, no longer a friend but a terrifying foe, just feet from their beds. Panic set in, but the dog's relentless barking kept them focused. They scrambled to their feet, helping each other, grabbing what little they owned, and moved to higher, safer ground, just as a powerful surge of water washed over the spot where they had been sleeping moments before. They made Italiano. They were all safe, and it was all because of their small, furry hero. That night, the dog didn't just bring a piece of bread or a bone. He brought them the gift of life. He saved them from the silent, creeping danger that would have surely claimed them. He had been their provider, their companion, and now he was their savior. From that day forward, everything changed under the bridge. A new, unspoken rule was established. Before anyone else took a single bite of food, they made sure the little dog had his fill. He was served first. Always. They would save the best scraps for him, share their water with him, and make sure he had the warmest spot to sleep. He was no longer just a stray dog who visited. He was the heart of their makeshift family. And the most beautiful part, he never asked for any of it. He continued his nightly rounds, bringing whatever he could find and laying it at Lolo Ben's feet, his tail wagging with the simple, pure joy of giving. His love was unconditional, his loyalty unwavering. He was a reminder that even in the harshest of circumstances, a hero can be found in the most unlikely of places, and that the greatest acts of kindness often come from those who have the least to give. He wasn't just the dog under the bridge. He was their guardian angel. Thanks for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that celebrates the incredible bond between humans and animals. See you next time.